Hello friends, I'm going to continue this theme about meaning and the meaning of meaning. Now, I've been reading an essay by the French philosopher Roland Barthes. If memory serves, he began as a structuralist philosopher and then moved on to be a post-structuralist philosopher. In this essay, the essay is called The Metaphor of the Eye, and it's an essay on Georges Bataille's Story of the Eye. And in the course of this brief essay, he talks about limits and meaning. And he makes the case that limits give something meaning. Now, my improvised take on this, because I improvise all of these talks, my improvised take on this is, a few years ago I made a meme. And memes can be quite interesting because they can just be funny, or they can point at deeper truths. And this particular meme was a Star Wars meme. It's that scene in Empire Strikes Back when Luke Skywalker discovers that Darth Vader is his father. And so in the meme that I made, it's that climactic scene when Luke finds out that Darth Vader is his father. And so there are four frames. And in my particular meme, I wrote, so Darth Vader says, Obi-Wan never told you about free jazz. And Luke says, he told me enough. He told me that it's devoid of structure and meaning. Then Darth Vader says, no, its structure is its meaning. And then Luke says, no, and throws himself off the thing. Now, to link this to the essay and that statement in the essay by Roland Barthes, if meaning is defined by limit, if we're talking about a music or any art form that subscribes to no limit, does that mean it has no meaning? Of course, there are different ways of arguing this or discussing it. One is most definitely that as free jazz is labelled to be, there are certain limits. Not as a field, but in terms of the exemplars, the examples that have manifested in the extant, recorded works and concerts. And a recording itself is a form of limiting. A performance is a form of limiting. If you've got 40 minutes, that's what you've got. If you went on beyond the 40 minutes, okay, you could go to 43, 45, 50 minutes. If you went on for 10 hours at a 40-minute gig, eventually somebody would step in long before the 10 hours and say, you're overrunning here. So there's a limiting in place there. And then there are also other limits in terms of the genre, even though it's a genre that is defined by the freeness. And I can bring in free improvisation here as well. There's an overlap, of course. But even then, there's a history and there's a shared memory. But are those limits, are those things limiting factors in terms of how the meaning of the music or the art form is experienced? Should they be? Is Barthes right in saying that meaning is defined by limits? If so, why go on stage? Why bother? Why do a performance? Why free improvise? Why do any of that if you're going to be defined by a limit? Are we really Icarus? Do we ascend to the heavens only to be brought down to earth by the fragility of the apparatus, the instruments that we choose to use to ascend that high? As always with these things, I'm asking questions. I'm not always giving answers. A very wise person told me some years ago that in philosophy, in artistic research, in artistic endeavour, we endeavour to ask better and better questions. If you're interested in black and white logic with a capital L structures, you're looking in the wrong place, and you should probably move on to the next video on YouTube or the next thing on your timeline when it's shared on social media. Better and better answers? No. Better and better questions. Is not the human condition in its very essence to question? Long before a human being gave a hierarchical, structural, religious or philosophical or political answer to a person's question, humans were questioning. You can't look at the moon, you can't look at the stars, you can't look at the sun, you can't look at nature without having questions. And those questions are many and varied, but that is the human nature. Charles Ives, the amazing amateur American composer, in 1908 wrote The Unanswered Question. And I'm sure you know that piece, friends, and if you don't, I recommend you checking it out. The trumpet asks the question. A small ensemble of wind players provide increasingly chaotic answers to that question that lead nowhere. The piece finishes with the trumpet asking the question again, and the winds are silent. Throughout the whole of the piece, though, there's a group of strings that have been playing these beautifully quiet diatonic chords all the way through. Is that the answer? Or is that just another structure? Is that just a limit, another limit on meaning? Is Barthes right? Or was he just writing that in his essay because it seemed like a cool way of framing the story of the eye? Is the label free jazz, free improvisation right, or is the very labelling a device of structuralization and thus some kind of limit that gives it a meaning that it doesn't necessarily need? Is the length of a gig right? Should musicians, should any artist be allowed to go on stage and perform for exactly as long as they want to? More and more questions. The questions are piling up here, but the questions all relate to the same thing. This idea of meaning and what we make of the activities that we undertake in the world and what we make of the world itself. I'm going to leave it there. Even this video has a limit. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Hope you all have a good day, and as always, please feel free to leave comments in the comment section and also on social media. And if you know me personally, you can get in touch and we can discuss it. These are the kind of things that go round in my head from the moment I'm awake to the moment I go to sleep. These are important questions to me, and I hope that they're important questions to many of yourselves as well. Stay safe, good luck, and I'll speak to you soon.